Doesn't have to be a PowerPoint or anything like that. You can just talk to us. That is entirely up to you.
You know what it looks like? It looks like Mako just joined.
Oh, did he? I see that he has. Aha. Mako, are you there? I see 3 frames with Mako's name on it.
4.
I take it back, 4. Well, I'll tell you what. Since he's incognito, you go ahead, Cody, and maybe his image will be there, and we'll worry about him after you get done.
All right, sounds good. Just gonna share my screen here. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good to go. Awesome. So I'm Cody. I run a full service IT company called Cloudavize. We basically become companies' outsourced IT departments. So what I'm going to talk about today is give you guys a little bit of my background, how I started the business, and then end it with some cybersecurity tips that you guys can take with you and help keep yourself secure. So a little bit about me. I've been in the business about 10 years now, originally from Wilmington, Delaware area, Philadelphia Metro. So I worked at a few different IT companies in the Philadelphia area. So those black dots there are kind of the different places I lived at and where I've worked at. So my background is really working with small and medium businesses, consulting on their IT, and helping them use technology better. So coming from that area, I moved to Dallas, started this company, basically doing what I was doing at those companies, working with small and medium businesses, helping them with their IT, becoming that single point of contact. Back here. On top of that, while working in Pennsylvania, basically in the IT industry, a lot of it is about certifications. So I have a lot of different certifications in Microsoft and Cisco technology. That's a big thing in the IT industry, keeping on top of all the changes and staying up to date on knowledge. So I started this company, basically full service IT. We do everything that an IT department would do for companies, serving local companies here in Dallas. So that's a little bit about me. I want to share some tips for personal cybersecurity that I think would be relevant for everyone in here. Keeping, your information secure and really preventing cyber issues that are really prevalent in the industry right now. So tip number 1, really important now that there's a lot of different cloud platforms that everyone's using for email and banking and organizing their life. With all these different cloud services, I would recommend using a password manager to keep all of those all of your passwords stored in one place and organized. So basically, you can sign up for one of these services. The 2 I usually recommend are LastPass and Dashlane. And you can securely store all of your passwords in one location. And it'll give you tips on keeping your passwords. It'll look at your passwords and make sure they're secure. So if you have the same password for multiple services, it will let you know and give you advice on securing your passwords. Second tip, really important that you use multi-factor authentication for anything that is holding sensitive information. So typical services that I would strongly recommend putting multi-factor authentication on would be your banking, your email, and any business applications like QuickBooks. And for anyone that doesn't know, multi-factor authentication is just a second way of authenticating yourself when you log in. So when you log into your bank, it'll send you a text message and you put the code in. You probably have experienced that. But I would strongly recommend that you use that on anything that has personal sensitive information. Tip number 3 is to use dark web monitoring. So there are free services out there that scan the dark web for password breaches. So with all of these breaches that happen with banks and online services, your passwords can be revealed to the dark web. So any kind of criminal or bad actor in the cyberspace can see those passwords and log into your account. So if you subscribe to a service, it can notificate you if one of your accounts has been breached and the password is out there, and then you can log in and change that password. So this is the service that I typically recommend. This URL here, you just go to it and then type in your email address, you subscribe, and then it'll email you anytime that a breach happens. And then you can go in there and change your passwords. Tip number 4 is to avoid public Wi-Fi. So public Wi-Fi isn't secure because you're sharing it with multiple people. So the idea is to really avoid anything that you don't own. Avoid any kind of public Wi-Fi, because when you connect to that, people can snoop what you're doing and get your passwords and really watch everything you're doing. So the key is to try to avoid, if possible. A couple ways to avoid it is to either use a mobile hotspot on your phone. So if you have a cellular plan, you can turn on your mobile hotspot and connect to that instead of connecting to a public Wi-Fi like Starbucks or McDonald's or any public space. Another strategy is to use a VPN software on your computer. And that software encrypts any data coming from your computer to the internet so that no one can snoop it and see what you're doing. A couple more tips here. Tip number 5 is to always keep your software up to date. So that would be mainly your phones and your mobile workstations. So typically when you're working, you'll get updates pushed to you. You'll get asked to do updates. A lot of people just click out of those. I would recommend always running those updates when you're asked to, because those contain security fixes and help keep you safe from vulnerabilities. So I would recommend kind of doing a monthly check or quarterly check to make sure everything's up to date on your systems to keep you secure. Last tip here is to use antivirus software. Any kind of computer you have, including phones, would definitely recommend using at least a free antivirus software and keeping that up to date and running scans every once in a while. So a few of the options that I would recommend that work really well are Bitdefender, Avast, or AVG software. And those are all free and are really important to keep your computer secure. So to summarize, 6 minimum tips that I would recommend everyone really consider and hopefully implement these in your personal life would be to use a password manager to organize your passwords and keep them secure. Turn on multi-factor for any kind of cloud-based applications that you want to really make secure. Subscribe to free dark web monitoring. Avoid public Wi-Fi. Keep everything up to date and use antivirus on anything. And if you follow those 6 tips, that's really a great base to keep your personal information secure and avoid any kind of cyber threats. Any questions?
Very good.
I have one. Let's see, which one is it? WPSK, has that been hacked?
WPA2 has been hacked, and
Okay.
they're working on WPA3. So what you want to do with WPA2, that's a wireless protocol. So any wireless device is probably going to be using WPA2. So if you have a wireless router, update that. Make sure that's completely up to date,
Okay.
because the hardware vendors put out patches, security patches that fix that vulnerability. So WPA2 is only secure if the wireless device is up to date.
So if you have something like AT&T Uverse or Spectrum or whoever for your internet service provider, and their router is, comes from them, do they automatically update the router with the software for the WPA3 or the patches?
They do, but I would strongly recommend calling them and asking them to confirm, because they do not monitor those things. They say it's automatic, but I've seen cases where the patch wasn't in place and nobody knew because nobody checks on it. So I would recommend giving them a call, just to make sure that that automatic updating is working.
Bobby, you have a question?
No.
Okay, Linda, did you have?
Well, yes, I'm very confused when it comes to this topic, so forgive me. But this LastPass and Dashlane, one, do you just give them all your passwords and they tell you what not and not to do? Do they generate passwords? And how do I know that they're secure?
So the way it works is you use your email address to sign up for the service, and they use an encryption algorithm that's tied to your email address, and it makes your email address a private key that only you have. So basically, they don't have any of the passwords. You have a private key that's tied to your email address that only you have, and that keeps everything encrypted so that they can't see it. So when you sign up for the service, it creates that key that only you have, and that they don't have.
So if I was to go on send an email or go on a site, I'm not understanding, or for whatever I need, my bank, if I need a password, what do they do?
So there's a browser plugin. So in your web browser, there's a little application that integrates with your web browser. And when you go to that site, your banking site, it automatically decrypts your password and fills it in the web browser.
Okay, so it's all automatic. I don't have to do anything.
Okay, one more question, otherwise you can get with Cody offline. Do I see a hand out there? Ed? You're on mute.
Cody, what's your opinion on the password protection or that password thing through Norton?
I didn't even know Norton had a password protection. Are you talking about the antivirus software?
Yeah, no. They do the password thing generation. They have a whole thing.
You know what, I don't know about their password manager. The key is to make sure that they don't have that private key that I talked about, and that everything's encrypted.
Yeah, supposedly it is. So they really push it a lot if you use Norton, but I haven't decided to use it. So
Yeah, the key is that private key. Steve?
Awesome. Awesome job, Cody.
I think there's
Awesome.
Very much. Anybody else have any questions for Cody? You can maybe put it in the chat room or get with him offline. Would be awesome. Julie, where you at? Have anybody targeted off for next week?
No, but we can draw a name.
Okay.
Okay.
You got everybody's name in a bucket or hat, whatever. Feel free to do so.
Bobby's name came up, but there might be someone on the call that hasn't done it in a while.
Everybody call want to volunteer for next week.
Rayanne, you haven't had a spotlight in a while. Rayanne, would you like to do a spotlight? Can you be here next week? I think she might be checking her schedule.
I think she's checking her calendar.
You're on mute.
There
I
you go.
know. I kept trying to press my space bar to unmute it, but it wouldn't work. So, yes.
Very good.
Okay, great. So we got Rayanne for next week. Okay.
Okay. Let's kind of go around the virtual room here. Any thank yous by anybody who you've done business with lately? Had one